Have you ever noticed that some women don't flirt in an obvious or direct way? Instead of openly expressing attraction, they tend to test your awareness first. They watch how you respond, how you interpret situations, and whether you can pick up on subtle signals. This becomes even more noticeable when you're a man over 50. At this stage of life, women don't approach you the same way they might have when you were younger. They're more careful, more observant, and more indirect in how they show interest. They don't want to come across as desperate or too available, so instead of direct flirting, they take a quieter route. They ask questions. And what most men completely miss is this. When a woman feels drawn to an older, grounded man, she will almost always ask two very specific questions. It's subtle, but powerful. A signal hidden in plain sight. Think about this for a moment. Have you ever looked back and realized that you missed a clear sign from a woman? In the moment, it felt ordinary, almost meaningless. But later, when you replayed it in your mind, it suddenly made sense. That small conversation, that innocent question, that moment of curiosity, it wasn't random at all. It was an opening. And that happens far more often than most men are willing to admit. A lot of men over 50 begin to believe they've become invisible, especially to younger women or even women their own age. But in reality, the opposite is true. Mature men can be more attractive than ever, but only if they understand how women actually communicate attraction. The problem is not lack of interest. The problem is misinterpretation. It's assuming she's just being polite, just making conversation, when in reality she might have been opening a door for connection. Women rarely express attraction in a direct way. Instead, they observe first. They study your energy, your presence, your calmness under pressure, and whether you are aware enough to notice subtle shifts in behavior. And when a woman begins to see you as someone she could potentially connect with, emotionally, mentally, or even physically, something changes in her communication style. Casual conversation starts to shift. It becomes more intentional, more focused. She begins to ask questions, not randomly, but with meaning behind them. Those questions are not meaningless. They are designed to reveal three important things about you: your emotional stability, your availability, and your awareness. Most men expect attraction to be obvious: a compliment, a smile, a clear statement. But that's not how it works anymore. Women don't simply say, "I'm attracted to you." Instead, they explore, they test, they ask carefully selected questions to see if you are someone they can move toward without fear of rejection or misunderstanding. Because there is a quiet fear underneath it all. If she shows too much interest too soon, she risks being judged as desperate. So instead, she hides her interest inside curiosity. She wraps her attraction inside innocent-sounding questions. And if you don't recognize them, she rarely repeats herself. Emotional openings like that are not offered twice. Men tend to express interest through action: help, protection, presence, effort. Women express interest differently. For them, questions become the bridge. A question is not just a question. It is a soft step toward you, a way of testing whether there is emotional safety on the other side. Of course, women ask many questions in everyday conversation. But when there is genuine attraction toward a mature man, two specific questions appear repeatedly. Across different cultures, personalities, and situations, they tend to show up in some form or another. And these questions are not random. They are not casual curiosity. They are emotional tests. They are subtle ways of feeling you out, measuring your emotional temperature without making their intentions obvious. At a deeper level, she is asking herself a few silent questions while she speaks to you. Are you calm? Are you grounded? Are you emotionally open? Or are you closed off behind routine, structure, and distance? These questions are not about collecting information. They are about creating connection. They act like emotional bridges, small openings she places between herself and you, waiting to see if you notice and step forward with awareness. Most men respond only to the surface meaning of the question, but a grounded, emotionally aware man hears what is underneath the words. Because in those moments, she is not just listening to your answer, she is feeling your presence, your energy, your emotional tone. What she is really looking for is not status, wealth, or impressive stories. What she is searching for is something far quieter and deeper, a sense of grounded presence, a calm masculine energy that feels stable, safe, and emotionally controlled. Now, the first question always revolves around your availability. Not your schedule, not your free time, but your emotional openness. She wants to know if there is space for her in your life. She is not asking directly. Instead, she is thinking, is this man open or closed? Can I move closer to him emotionally, or will I be pushed away? Is there room for connection, or is his life already fully sealed inside routine and solitude? Women are careful about where they invest emotional energy. They don't step into spaces where there is no room for them, so before showing deeper interest, they test that space. The second question is about direction, not your job, not your achievements, not your financial success, but your internal sense of purpose. She wants to feel whether your life is moving somewhere meaningful. Because women are not drawn to men who feel stuck or directionless. They are drawn to men who feel anchored, men who know who they are and carry themselves with intention. Through this question, she is trying to understand something deeper. Are you emotionally alive? Do you have clarity about your life? Are you stable enough to offer emotional safety? Or are you just moving through life without real direction? This is not about logic or facts. It is about energy. While she is asking, she is also imagining what it would feel like to be close to you, to share space with you, to be part of your world. Attraction might begin physically, but it only deepens when she feels your presence is real, and this becomes even more important for men over 50. At this stage of life, women assume you have already lived through many experiences. They don't want to enter your life as an afterthought or temporary presence. They want to feel there is real space for them emotionally, not just physically. These two subtle questions, easy to miss if you are not paying attention, are her way of checking two things at once. Is there room for me in this man's life? And is he living with intention or simply existing? You can miss compliments. You can overlook body language. You can even ignore eye contact. But if you miss these questions, you miss the exact moment she was quietly opening the door. And once that door closes, it rarely opens again in the same way. So here is the core truth. When a woman wants something deeper with a mature man, not just conversation, but emotional or even physical connection, she will almost always test the connection through two key questions. The first one often sounds simple. Do you spend a lot of time on your own? On the surface, it seems harmless, but underneath it carries meaning. What she is really asking is there space for me in your world? Are you open to connection or emotionally closed off? She might phrase it in different ways. She could ask if you usually go out alone, if you prefer keeping to yourself, or even casually mention that you seem like someone who enjoys solitude. Sometimes she might even ask if you are seeing anyone, but the meaning remains the same. It is not about loneliness. It is about access. She is trying to understand whether she has emotional space to enter your life, and she only asks this when she has already started imagining herself somewhere within that space. Most men answer this question too literally. Yes, I spend time alone. Or, not really. But that misses the entire point. She is not asking for facts. She is testing emotional openness. A grounded response is not needy, but not closed either. Something like, I enjoy my space, but I also appreciate good company. Or, I have my routines, but I'm always open to the right connection. That kind of response communicates balance. It shows emotional availability without desperation. It creates space without chasing. And that is exactly the energy women respond to most strongly. Open but not empty, strong but not distant. When you respond this way, something subtle shifts in her perception. There is warmth, possibility, and curiosity. And naturally, that leads to the second question. What are you looking for these days? This question carries more weight. It is not casual conversation. It is not small talk. It is an evaluation of direction. If she wasn't interested in you on some level, she would never ask something so personal. It is too revealing, too intentional. She might phrase it differently. What are you focused on? What do you want in life? Where are you heading? But the intention is always the same. She is trying to understand your inner direction. She wants to know if you are grounded in purpose, if you are moving forward, if you are emotionally stable enough to build something real. Because in that moment, she is thinking, is this a man I can trust emotionally? Is his life going somewhere meaningful? Can I imagine myself within his direction? Men often lose this moment by being vague or uncertain. I'm just going with the flow. I'm not really sure right now. Just taking things day by day. To her, that signals lack of direction, and women do not invest emotionally in uncertainty. You don't need a long speech, you just need clarity. I'm focusing on building a more intentional and meaningful life. I'm looking for real connection and good energy around me. I'm creating a chapter with more purpose and the right people in it. These responses show movement, clarity, and emotional grounding, and more importantly, they allow her to imagine where she might fit into your direction. That is the real key. Because at the deepest level, what most men over 50 don't fully realize is this: women are not just attracted to looks or status, they are drawn to emotional aliveness, to a man who feels present inside himself. When she asks if you spend time alone, she is checking openness. When she asks what you are looking for, she is checking direction. And when openness and direction come together, something powerful forms: presence. And presence is what creates attraction that feels natural, not forced. Women don't need perfection, they need clarity, because clarity creates safety, and safety is what allows attraction to grow. If you start paying attention, you will notice this pattern everywhere: a calm conversation, a little more eye contact, a slight shift in tone, and then those two questions appear. They are not random. They are emotional checkpoints, and women rarely ask them unless something inside them has already started to shift. Because in the end, a woman who wants something real will rarely say it directly. She will reveal it through questions. And once you learn to recognize them, you stop guessing, you stop overthinking, you simply understand. And that changes everything.